Get ready for University of Georgia basketball.
I waited here for you for so very long. I waited here for you so long. I waited here for you,
Hi again, everybody. Welcome to the, we did this in 2023, 24, 25. So, the fourth annual State of the Program, where we recap and take a look back at what was the Georgia Bulldogs basketball season. So, this is the 2026 version. And to be quite honest with you, Georgia had a really tremendous 2026 basketball season. But unfortunately, it will be not remembered as that, as, excuse me, guys. It will be remembered for how it ended. And, it was not fun. It was not fun how it ended, but, we're gonna remember it all, so. Georgia's season actually started October 5th versus Georgia State Panthers in a game where Georgia led in the first half, and then really, really late down the stretch of the second half, Georgia State made a run. Georgia State actually got it to, I believe, a 1-point game at one point, very, very late, but Georgia did pull away. Georgia won that game 65-61. Georgia's next exhibition game would be October 26th on Sunday versus Troy, which Georgia won 81-65. And another game as well where Georgia got out to a great first half, and then later down the road and early in the second half, Troy made a huge rally. And then Georgia was able to put the foot on the throat and rid Troy. Georgia ended up playing very, very good in that game. And so Georgia was 2-0 in exhibition play. That ended the exhibition season for Georgia. And then after that, the actual regular season started November 3rd versus Bellarmine. And what a game it was. It was the first game of the year. Georgia was up 49-29 at halftime. And then went on to have a 104-59 win. Georgia's box score was Blue Kane with 15. Jeremiah Wilkinson with 15. Kenny Catchings with 9. Santos Cirillo with 8. Jordan Ross with 7. Jake Wilkins with 12. Dylan James with 9, Smurf Millender with 8, Justin Bailey with 8, Cream Stagg with 8, and the greatest part of the night, Brandon Klatsky with 5. He hit a 3-pointer, and then got a steal to hit a 2-pointer. That was the funniest part of the day right there. It was so good to see Brandon Klatsky score some points. So that's Georgia's first game of the season, a 100-point game. And then, just keep an eye on that because that will be an important detail later in the video. After that, Georgia's defense plays its best game of the season versus Maryland Eastern Shore. Georgia wins it 94-29. Maryland Eastern Shore, exactly 17 points in the first half, 12 in the second. They got held under 30. Blue Kane had 16. Kenny Catchings had 14. Jeremiah Wilkinson with 12, Softo with 9, Jordan Ross with 4, Jake Wilkins with 16 points, Kareem Stagg with 9, Dylan James with 5, Justin Abson with 4, Smurf with 3, Justin Balin with 2, Klatsky and Newell also did play in this game as well. So Georgia playing its best defensive game of the year versus Maryland East Shore. How did they round that up? By playing Moorhead on that Sunday, November 9th. And Excuse me, guys. Georgia won 120-81. Georgia had its first viral moment of the year when Jake Wilkins did an alley-oop dunk, or Jake Wilkins caught an alley-oop dunk, windmilled it, and got the first viral moment of the year. And that was a fun game. After that, Georgia had a week off. Like, there was that game was on Sunday. They won't play again to Friday, and this was Georgia's first true test of the year when Georgia Tech came calling to Stegeman Coliseum. And hey, it was a fight there for a little while. It was 45-46 at halftime, but Georgia took care of Georgia Tech. Georgia got it done. The final score was 92-87. The box score for the players: Blue Kane was Georgia's leading scorer with 18, Jordan Ross with 14, Softo Surreal with 8, Kenny Catchins with 6, Justin Bailey with 2, Jeremiah Wilkinson with 18, Smurf Miller with 7, Absent with 7, Jake Wilkins with 6, Dylan James with 4, and Stagg with 2. So Georgia beats Georgia Tech. It was always so great to see Georgia beat Georgia Tech, but Georgia did in this game too. So 2023, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26. Georgia has now beaten Georgia Tech 3 straight times. Can you count it? Yes, sir. 3 straight times, 3 straight wins for Georgia basketball over Georgia Tech. After that, we play Florida A&M November 27th, 87-57. Georgia blew by Florida A&M. Then, you know, you were going to see what Georgia was made of in this game. The Shiners Children's Charleston Classic, Georgia played Xavier and Clemson. Georgia won 78-77 on a Smurf Millender three-pointer. And we lost to Clemson 94-97 in overtime in the championship game. This Xavier game was the moment I knew we had a real team. Georgia got down in this game, fought back, and then took the lead versus Xavier on Smurf's three-point basket. Yeah, Georgia, this was the moment I knew, hey, this Georgia team was going to be for real. To go in a neutral place and beat a team like Xavier, it was absolutely terrific. And you know, it was, more importantly, it was fun. It was fun basketball. The Clemson game was not more fun. Georgia did lose in overtime. Georgia had to come back at that one point, and unfortunately, Georgia did lose. But after Georgia goes 1-1 in the Charleston Classic, they play Texas Tech. We win 123-81. Another game Georgia scores over 100 points in. That became a huge factor in the 2026 season. After that, it's time for the SEC-ACC Challenge when Georgia faced Florida State. Georgia won 107-73 in what was arguably Georgia's best performance in a road basketball game in a very, very long time. I understand Florida State had a first-year head coach, and I understand that Florida State was not that good. But to go on the road and against the ACC team, and remember, I was not excited for this game. I was really upset that they had scheduled Georgia for Florida State again, because we had played Florida State a few seasons ago. So I did not want to play Florida State again, but it's really glad that Georgia did go on to play Florida State. Excuse me. Because Georgia rolled Florida State. I mean, Georgia dominated this game. It was so odd to see Georgia win on the road this big versus a team of this caliber. It's an ACC team. You still have to take into consideration it's the ACC team. Georgia does not do that often. Georgia does not go on the road and beat your butt, and Georgia did do that versus Florida State. After that, Georgia would have an entire week off, and then we would play the Cincinnati Bearcats in State Farm Arena and Holiday Hoops Giving. Well, first we're going to go back to that Florida State game real quick. I feel like I can read the box score for this game because it actually was. The box score in this Georgia-Florida State game was crazy. Jeremiah Wilkinson with 22, Blue Kane with 17, Kenan Catchings with 17, Softo with 9, Jordan Ross with 4, Smurf Millender with 10, Jake Wilkins with 7, James Stagg with 6, Absent with 4, Bailey with 3, and Jaden Newell with 2. So, yeah, the Florida State game over with. Georgia takes a week off and goes play Cincinnati. And a very, very interesting matchup because at one point in the game, Georgia was down. Like, Georgia was slow. Georgia did not look good. We were wondering, where's this Georgia team that showed up the last game versus Florida State? Well, Georgia made sure that they understood. They got the message because then they came out the second half was with a complete powerhouse and completely blew Cincinnati out the window. And then after that Cincinnati game, Georgia's non-conference schedule winds down. It's done. There's only 3 more games left, but it's all games you should win, and Georgia did. Georgia beat Western Carolina 112-82, beat West Georgia 103-74, and battle-tested. Georgia got battle-tested in the very last non-conference game versus LIU. Georgia won 89-74. So the thing with me about non-conference play is just how impressive Georgia looked. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful how many times we put 100 points up in non-conference play, especially teams who you did it against. I mean, you did it against Florida State, a team that you usually would not put up how much you're supposed to win, but then when you put 100 points up on a team, you never usually do. It just makes you very, very happy. And it makes you very thankful that your non-conference game went, it makes me very happy that Georgia put 100 points up in non-conference play. They did it a lot, and I was very happy about that. So then, after LIU, and again, Georgia was battle-tested versus LIU, SEC play started January 3rd versus Auburn, and this is a game that I had circled. If you remember in the preseason predictions video, this was a game I had circled because Georgia had not beat Auburn since the 2022-23 season. The year before, we lost to Auburn on a failed putback that would have tied it or won the game. Excuse me, guys, if we had made it. So Georgia gets Auburn. And what does Georgia do? Well, Georgia was up 4 with a few seconds left, or up 3 with a few seconds left. We foul Auburn on a 3-point shot. It looks like we're going to win. Softo Cerullo even gets a long alley-oop dunk to officially put us up. Like, we were celebrating. We thought we were going to win. Then the unthinkable happens. Georgia's up 4, and we foul on a 3-point play. Auburn makes both free throws, the first 2, misses the second one, gets it back to put it up at the buzzer, and send it to overtime. And I'm outside listening to this game. And my heart just sank. It did. My heart just sank to my stomach. I stood there speechless for a few moments because I thought, well, here we go. We're going to lose this game, aren't we? And then Jeremiah Wilkinson with the greatest game of his life. 31 points for Jeremiah Wilkinson. Hits 2 straight free-pointers on her ankle, might I add, to give Georgia a 104-100 victory over the Auburn Tigers. The box score for this game, Jeremiah with 31, Blue and Santo with 15, Jordan Ross with 12, Cannon Catchings with 2, Smurf Millender with 24, James and Stagg with 2, and Justin Abson with 1. That combines to 104. And it was just a terrific basketball game. What was not terrific was the next game Georgia played. Georgia gets steamrolled 77-92 in the Stephen F. O'Connell Center versus the Florida Gators. And it was one of those games that, to be quite honest with you, it was one of those games for Georgia that if something was going wrong, everything was going wrong for Georgia. Georgia couldn't shoot. Georgia couldn't score. Santos Cirillo got ejected in the game, or very early in the game, I add. Justin Abson had a real good game, and Stagg had a good game, but it was just a game that nothing was clicking offensively or defensively for Georgia, and that's why Georgia lost that game. Georgia then proceeds to carry that game over with a very, very close road victory over South Carolina, 75-70. Georgia struggled the entire game. Georgia did have to pull away late, but South Carolina played good the entire game, but Georgia was able to overcome South Carolina at the end and win. It's very crucial you win on the road in the SEC. So this win, 75-70 versus South Carolina, I understand people are going to look at that and say that it was not a big win, or it was not important or anything like that. But to win on the road like that versus SEC team, that was a big deal. After that, one of Georgia's most heartbreaking losses happens. A 95-97 loss to Ole Miss in overtime, or not overtime, but that was a very, very tough loss. So I believe it did go to overtime. Did it go to overtime? I don't think it did. I think it was just late. I think it was just close at the end. I don't believe it went to overtime. I'm pulling this up right now to make sure I'm correct that it didn't go to overtime. Yeah, it did go to overtime. It did. I remembered it going to overtime. So it did go to overtime. Georgia ties it off a free throw. And then Ole Miss goes down the floor, misses 2 quality chances at it. And then the guy catches it, and while he's falling down, puts it up, and it swishes in through the basket, nothing but net. That was the most heartbreaking loss up to that point. But then Georgia then goes to 2 straight wins. They beat Arkansas 90-76. And remember, guys, Arkansas won the SEC championship. It's March 23rd. Arkansas is still playing in the NCAA tournament. So, Georgia beat the SEC champion and a team who is still playing in the NCAA tournament. And it was a great game for Georgia. Jeremiah Wilkinson had 20, Blue King with 18, Catchings with 15, Jordan Ross with 9, Santos Cirillo with 6, Jake Wilkins with 11, Smurf Millender with 5, Abson with 2, and Dylan James with 4 points. That was a great game. In the second half of that game, the very ending, the final 6 or 7 minutes after Arkansas made their run, Arkansas made it a 2 or 3 point game at one point, and Georgia then proceeded to get the shotgun out and say, well, you know what? Okay, Arkansas, let's show you our firepower. And then Jeremiah Wilkinson starts hitting 3-pointers, and it was a fun game. After that game, January 20th, Georgia goes on the road versus Missouri. A 74-72 victory over the Tigers. Smurf Millender game-winning layup. That was a great moment because it looked like for a moment there Georgia's going to let that game slip away. And we always talk about if you go on the road in the SEC, you're going to have a great season. And Georgia made sure not to let that game slip. Georgia then proceeded to Millender Smurf with the game-winning layup seals the deal for Georgia in Missouri. Now, unfortunately, after this game, Georgia then proceeds to go on a 3-game losing streak. We lose to Texas, Tennessee, and Texas A&M, and you're starting to get a very, very bad feeling that it's something might go wrong. We lose to Texas 87 to 67. We lose to Tennessee 85 to 86, and we lose to Texas A&M 77 to 62. Georgia does get a victory over LSU 83-71 at the Pistol Pete Maravich Assembly Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Jeremiah Wilkinson had a great game, and somebody who had not really who had played really good, but this was Kenny Catch's coming out party. He had 23 points. We started to use him more in our offense. We started to utilize him more, and when we did, it opened up a whole variety of offense we had not had before. So Catches played good in the 83-71 victory over LSU. Then Georgia loses again, 2 straight games, 66-86 to Florida, and 78-94 versus Oklahoma. And then, after Oklahoma game, you're feeling really, really bad. You say, well, okay, is this over? Then, a program-changing, a life-changing, a season-changing victory. Georgia gets their first win at Kentucky for the first time since 2009. Georgia beats Kentucky 86-78 in what was just a huge important victory for this Georgia basketball team. They needed this one, and I had said all offseason long, if there was a year that Georgia will beat Kentucky in Kentucky, it's this year. Kentucky was down. Kentucky was good was really great at some points of the season, but mostly good. And you could beat a good Kentucky team because we beat a good Auburn team. We beat a good Arkansas. We beat a great Arkansas team. Again, they're still playing. So you had to go on the road on Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. You think it's not going to go your way. And Georgia just straight up dominates Kentucky. Georgia was up 39-34 at halftime. And Kentucky did make a run. There was a play in the game where Oweh hit a three-pointer, or Oweh hit an and one. Chandler hits a free, and then Oweh grabs the rebound, gets another and one. It cut a 14-point Georgia lead to like 5. And I'm sitting there saying, this is like with 5 or 6 minutes. So I'm saying, oh my God, we're going to blow this. And Georgia hangs on. The most important Georgia basketball victory in a very, very long time. Georgia goes on the road and beats Kentucky. Blue Kane had 20, Smurf with 14, Softo with 14, Catchins with 6, Stagg with 3, Jeremiah Wilkinson with 19, Jake with 6, and Dylan James with 4 points in what was just an absolute game-changing victory. Georgia needed that win so bad. And we did get it. After that, we played Texas. We won 91-80. After the Texas game, February 25th, we go on the road and lose to Vanderbilt 80-88 in a game Georgia arguably should have won. There was a bunch of bad calls in this game that just skinned the dogs and didn't go our way. And then Georgia proceeds to go on a 3-game winning streak to end the season versus South Carolina 87-68. Versus Alabama 98-88. Alabama is still playing, So that was a huge win. And versus Mississippi State, 102-69. 102-96. And then you're thinking, winning a 3-game win streak, we beat Alabama. We're playing good. And then Georgia goes off to the SEC tournament and does not do good. Georgia loses 72-76. Do not let that score distract you. Ole Miss dominated this game. It seems to be now maybe Georgia has an Ole Miss problem, but that's a story for another video. The score at halftime was 34-20. I mean, Georgia had no offense in the first half. We weren't hitting threes. We weren't even hitting layups. I mean, it was very, very bad. Georgia did outscore Ole Miss 52-42, but if you have no offense, you can't do nothing. And Georgia had no offense in that game at all. It was not fun. And then we come to the end of the season, the first round of the NCAA tournament, where Georgia's season ends for the second straight consecutive year in embarrassing fashion. Georgia loses 77-102 to the St. Louis Billikens in a very, very unacceptable game. St. Louis scored the first 8 or 9 points of the game, and Georgia had no offense. And you're about to see why we had no offense here. Our offense was one guy. Smurf had 13. Smurf had a good game. But Kane, Stagg, and Catchings with 6 and 5. Cannon had none. Santo had none. Jeremiah Wilkinson with 30 points. 30 points, but that was not enough. Ross had 7, James with 5, Wilkins with 5, and Bailey with 4, and Abson with 2. Smurf and Wilkinson were the only guys who showed up in this game. It still hurts to talk about, because, I mean, it's still relatively fresh. It was only a few days ago. But this was an unacceptable loss. This loss hurt very, very bad. To lose like we did on national stage, it just hurt so bad. The GeorgiaDolls.com article said the 8-seeded Bulldogs fell to the 9th seed to St. Louis Billikens in the NCAA tournament in the round of 64 in KeyBank Arena. And that leads us here, right? We're at the end of the season. That leads us to not the end of the video, obviously, but the end of the season. And I'm going to say again, it was a great season, but it's going to be remembered for how it ended. It's going to be remembered for how it ended against St. Louis. And sure, that's not a good way to look at it, but that's what happened. It hurt so bad because I knew this team could have been so much better in postseason than it was. I mean, I don't understand how you let that happen. I mean, I don't understand how we play in the NCAA tournament. We're supposed to be excited to be here. And quite frankly, nobody shows up. I mean, Smurf and Catchings showed up. They were the only one. And it was just so disappointing. It was very disheartening that this great season we had, fun season, wins over Georgia Tech, Cincinnati, Xavier, Arkansas, Alabama, South Carolina. The story goes on. The fact that this season is going to be remembered for that It will be remembered for that. It will be remembered for losing in the NCAA tournament. Embarrassingly, Georgia was down 40 at one time. We were down 40 points at one point in this game. As my dog comes in, we were down 40 points at one time in this game, in an NCAA tournament game. And it's not like last year when we got seeded against the underseeded team. We got seeded against a team we could have beat if three things: our players were ready, our coach was ready, and if we had cared. And nobody but Smurf and Jeremiah Wilkinson that night cared. And that is just so frustrating. It's disgusting. And I'm going to call out the fan base for a moment. I am going to call out our fan base for a moment. If you are one of these people saying we still have football or we don't care about basketball, you've lost all respect for me. Because somehow we're the bad guys for saying we want to be like Florida. We want to be like Alabama. We want to be like Auburn. We want to be like Tennessee. We want to be like Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt can do it, yes, Georgia can. If Vanderbilt can get great in football and basketball, Georgia can. But we have people running their mouths that say we don't care about football, basketball. We'd rather go 9-3 in football. Or another first round playoff exit in football. No. You can be both. And Georgia should be both. It is unacceptable with the talent in this state. And the state of Georgia has a rich basketball history, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know, you don't know. I mean, because this state is a basketball gold mine. Kennesaw State put up more of a fight. Kennesaw State won their conference tournament, number one, by the way. But number two, Kennesaw State put up a fight in their conference, in their NCAA tournament game. They didn't get beat by 40. Or at one point losing by 40. So I am sick and tired of seeing these people that say that we don't care about basketball or we shouldn't put it in money into basketball or blah, 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 blah. It's BS. It is garbage. You shouldn't even be opening your mouth about basketball. If you're just going to open your mouth about Georgia basketball for the sake of being negative and just to tell the world you don't care, that your opinion just doesn't matter. That is the most useless sentence that you have ever spewed out your mouth. Just like the guy who said he would trade a singular yard versus Vanderbilt for basketball. Well, guess what? Your bloodline's useless if you ever say that you would trade a singular yard in football for basketball to be rid of the world completely. You would trade our basketball program for a singular yard against Vanderbilt. Your bloodline's useless. And your bloodline should be blew off the face of the earth. Because I genuinely do not care about your bloodline. I don't. And just like I don't care about these people saying that, yeah, we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys for wanting to be good in basketball and football. What if y'all held Kirby Smart to the same standards y'all hold Mike White? Because 2022 was 4 seasons ago. What have Georgia done since then? Yes, a great Orange Bowl victory against Florida State. But what about the last 2 seasons? If we're going based off what y'all are telling us about Mike White, right? Y'all say that it's a disappointment and we should defund the basketball program because we made the conference tournament twice, or the NCAA tournament twice, the past 2 seasons. But it's okay to it's okay not to win a game in the college football playoff. Now, granted, we're not first round exit because we get a bye. But guess what Georgia has done with that bye in the college football playoffs? Jack crap. They've done nothing. We've done nothing. We got beat by Notre Dame and we got beat by Ole Miss a team that Georgia definitely 100% should have beat, and Georgia should have beat Indiana or Miami in the national championship. But because you couldn't beat Ole Miss, you didn't get that chance. So both teams are losing in the first round, their first games in the playoffs. So by that equation, there's people saying, well, we'd rather be a football school than basketball. Baseball won a game in postseason last year. So are we a baseball school? Because by your logic, we're not a football school. We're a baseball school. So we need to defund Kirby and defund football and give it to Wes Johnson so we can become a full contender in baseball. Your logic does not make sense. Your logic does not make sense. It's flawed. It's stupid. How dare you say that about the Georgia basketball program? That's what it is. It's people that genuinely want to see the basketball program not succeed so they could get their 1,000 Twitter likes. And guess what? Fuck it. I don't care. I do not care about your Twitter likes or your blue check mark or anything. I do not care about that. I want a winning basketball product. We can get it because Auburn has it. Vanderbilt has it. Everybody in the SEC can win in football and basketball. Georgia and especially Georgia fans, just do not want to win in basketball because it makes their Twitter likes look good when they're in football season. So yes, we'll end the video here. It was a great season. Do not let them. It ended terribly. It ended terribly. I get it. It ended terribly. It ends with a stain that will live with me until November when we play again. 2 stains because we got beat twice in postseason. We got beat by Ole Miss and St. Louis. But, and I am saying this as calm as I can. 22-11, a record-setting year wins-wise. A record-setting year. A lot of records were set this year. You got over multiple 100 wins. You won 22 wins. I mean, Georgia did everything right this year but figure out how to win postseason basketball games. If we can figure out how to win postseason basketball games, whether it be in the SEC tournament, Mike White is 4-6 in postseason basketball games, and they all came in the same season. They all came in 2024. We beat an 0-18 Missouri team, and then we beat Xavier, Wake Forest, and Ohio State. If Georgia can find a way to figure out how to win postseason basketball games, we're going to be fine, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be fine. But we need your support. We need people to stop putting down this basketball program every time we lose a game. Every time something goes wrong. Everybody's got something to say about it. Every time Georgia loses a game, people's got something to say about it. And it's blah, blah, blah. It's useless crap. It's stuff that doesn't matter. Georgia basketball is not going nowhere. You hear me? We're not going nowhere. Now, this might age horribly wrong. And if it does, then I'm a man. I'll say, hey, I was wrong. Just like I have in the past. I have said stuff in the past, and it completely blew up in my face, and I was the first person to say, I was not correct, I was wrong. If Georgia basketball has a bad year next year, I will come on here and say, we had a bad year. But until then, 3 straight years actually, 3 straight seasons of postseason play, 23-24 NIT, and 24-25 and 25-26 a NCAA tournament. We just got to figure out how to win postseason games. So, if I had to grade this season, it would be a B+. If you're talking A to F, it would be a B+. I would even say A-. But the reason it gets pulled out from A to B is strictly the Ole Miss game in the SEC tournament and the St. Louis game in the NCAA tournament. It just kind of I don't understand how you could come out so flat in a NCAA tournament game. I don't understand how you could come out so bad and so flat in an NCAA tournament game. But it's okay. I love this program. I love this team. I love this coach, okay? I am not turning my back on Mike White. But he has to show that he can win consistently. He has made 2 straight NCAA tournaments, but you have to win eventually. I don't want to be a program that's just fine with making it every year. I want to win in the NCAA tournament. I want to make an Elite 8. I want to make a Sweet 16. I want to make a Final 4. It's happened with Georgia before. They could definitely do it again. I want to see Georgia do this. So, again, great season, but it will be remembered for how it ended. And that's unfair. That is not fair for Georgia basketball of how it will be remembered. But that is how it's going to be remembered. It's going to be remembered for how it ended. So, overall, a great season in my opinion. I thank you all so much for watching the 2026 version of State of the Program. This is the only video that I do that's one-off. I only do it one time a year. And, I wish we were not doing it right now because I wish Georgia was still playing. But a lot to look forward to. Of course, if you're new to the channel, if you just found me because of Georgia's NCAA tournament run, hello. I hope you stick around. We will have Georgia basketball all off-season long, including roster changes, which should be expected soon. Roster changes, scheduling news, and other fun tidbit stuff we always do in there in the off-season. And yes, we will talk about baseball and football, but basketball first. This is a basketball first channel. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy this video. Go Dogs, go Hoop Dogs, and again, I'm proud of how the season was, but I hate how it ended. It ended so terribly. Can Georgia make up for it? I absolutely hope we can. So, go Dogs, and I hope you enjoy State of the Program 2026.
The unthinkable, the unbelievable. They beat Arkansas and go wire to win the SEC tournament.